Hey everybody, welcome back to the Trey Angle. I'm excited about this episode. The reason why is we get into a little bit of boxing. Hey everybody, welcome to the Trey Angle. My name is Trey Martinez. I'm super excited to be the host and be here in general to be able to give you insights, tips, and what I call little angles to help you overcome, help you get that edge. And that's what this is about for us to, as a community, as a collective, to all becoming a better person and using these strategies in your life. So again, super blessed to be here. This is Trey from the Trey Angle. I had the opportunity, thank you to Lloyd Ross, if you don't know who Lloyd Ross is, go to the previous podcast, previous episode where I get to talk with him, talk about money. And it's a different topic, or a different angle at it because of his experience, which is really, really impressive. So regardless, today is all about the champion mindset. And why I'm so excited about this, and again, thanks again to Lloyd, is because this man who you're about to hear from was the top 12, I believe. Top 12 junior middleweight champion of the world in boxing. He was the Australian champion and he reigned. I mean, I've seen some of his fights and he slugs it out. It is awesome to watch. But what he's been doing since his career is he has an amazing gym, and you should check it out. I'll put the information in the notes. But what he's done with men has been incredible. And what he talks about is a rite of passage. He has a brand new book that he just came out with, and I've read it all. I read it in a day. These principles are things that I think of as man on this journey through life. But the thing is, being able to hear from his insights of someone who's made it to the top in his world, boxing, and then being able to bring those insights into the world of business and what he's been able to do there and impacting people all over the world, not just in Australia, but all over the world. He's from Gold Coast, Australia. His name is Gavin Topp, and this guy's a firecracker. I'm telling you, one of the best dressed guys I've had on the podcast too.
Oh, jeez. You were playing.
Super sharp, but man, I had a true joy and pleasure being able to speak with Gavin because his insights and his energy at the end of the day was contagious. So I'm excited about this one. Let's dive right in.
All right, we're live. I am super excited about this because number one, I'm a huge fight fan, and that's number one. But number two is just because a lot of what you're about to hear has been so impactful to me already. And on top of that, it's something I feel like I've been searching for. And I'm super, super excited to have you, Gavin, here and out from Australia. We're doing this across the world. So thank you so much for being on. Seriously.
No, thank you for having me, man. Thank you for asking me. What you're doing is fantastic. You're helping, I suppose, blokes like me, spread their message, their mission, their vision. So thank you, mate, for inviting me.
Absolutely. And I just got to say, Conor McGregor ain't got nothing on you, man. He is suited up, looking good.
Come on, man.
I love it. But man, for people who don't know you, I want to give you the proper introduction. Obviously you just came out with a book, but way before then, you got into boxing whenever you were 18, 19 years old, right?
And earlier. Yeah.
Oh, amateur, huh?
Amateur, yeah.
Around that time, but yeah, probably your whole life. But you had a dream of becoming the champion in Australia.
Yeah.
You achieved that, and then you went on to actually do that around the world. And you're top 12?
12 in the world at one stage.
In the world. And from then you started gyms, and you have a passion for boxing. But then you started something called a rite of passage. And you also started something called Fight Like a Pro, which is your gym.
That's right.
And seeing those two things kind of come together and what your principles from boxing to what you do now is unbelievable. I just want to applaud you. I'm so excited to see
thank you, man.
how this has all worked. And I guess before we get into your story and everything, I had a question come in today. They're really excited about it. So they said, you have to ask him, what product does he use for his mustache? Because that thing's spectacular.
Yeah, man, you know what? You have to ask my barber. He just gives it to me, man. So I don't know. Sorry, can't help you.
That's awesome, man. But I tell you, he was fired up about it. But something that obviously we talked before, and I got to hear really deep about your story, and just man, I love it. I mean, seriously, everything you got going on. But something I didn't get to ask, and I'm excited to share with everybody. Obviously, you reached the pinnacle, and I want to get there. But what was life like before you even got into boxing?
Yeah. Before I even got into boxing, you know, I had a mum and dad that loved me to bits. Okay. But every family's got something. Yeah.
Yeah.
we've all got something, you know. So, you know, there was although I felt loved, you know, there was a lot of turmoil. You know, there was a lot of, you know, I always want to pay my mum and dad the most amount of respect. And but it was I had some really highs, you know, so in the family unit, and my parents did their best, but there was a lot of pain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, they did some really good things. You know, I was able to teach me about horses. You know, I remember being 12. My dad brought me some boxing gloves, taught me how to throw a punch. You know, but there was a lot of tough times as well. You know, I was very fortunate. I had a grandmother that loved me to bits. You know, so it was great to, you know, quite often spend some time with her and her family, you know. So it was great, you know. It was good, but it was hard, you know. It was hard.
Yeah. So then you transformed or transferred to boxing, where I'm sure you got a lot of release. And was that the start of it? Is that how you got into boxing?
It's funny. You know, I remember one time I used to get in a little bit of trouble from time to time, running around the wrong crowd and whatever. And what would happen is I'd get beaten up all the time.
Oh,
Or
wow.
at least it felt like I was getting beaten up all the time. You know, I always seemed to be attracted to hanging around with older kids and what have you. And, you know, like when you're 13, 14 and hanging around with 16, 18-year-olds and thinking you're somebody out of attitude.
Yep, being your dad.
So I remember getting the bejesus kicked out of me one time, you know, by a much older kid. I remember me dad opening the bedroom door one Sunday morning, you know, his claret shirt's ripped off me, you know. He goes, "Son, we're going to teach you how to fight."
Wow.
And I'm thinking, man, I would love to learn.
I need it.
I had the heart, I just didn't know what to do with it, you know. And it was interesting, you know, like you know, talking to you, and you know, like wanting that test, wanting that challenge, wanting that opportunity to find out what have I got in me, you know.
Right.
So it was interesting, you know. I got to a boxing gym and started training regular from when I was 16 years of age. And you know, went into the amateurs and you know, got it was like that, you know, because you know, you know, I had some things that were holding me back, you know, mentally, you know, emotionally, you know. As it turned out down the track, I found out, you know, I had a problem with drugs and alcohol, so you know that would take my focus away. Yeah, so that's but you know, like there was one time where I remember I just got to get away from these. You know, like you asked me about what life was like.
Right.
I thought I got to get away from these blokes I'm hanging around with. I'll get back to the gym, and I remember going to the gym and literally having a fight every Friday night. Had 8 fights in 7 weeks. You know,
wow.
And purely just to stay away from the pub.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So and I remember through that period, I ended up coming third in Australia, and I remember the because it was like a round robin through the state and then the national,
right.
And I can remember 3 blokes who I respected from other gyms. They all basically said the same thing to me. They said, "Gav, you got so much potential, but Gav, you got so much ability, but." I didn't know what the but was. I mean, I knew, you know, like I couldn't really put my handle on it, you know. And I remember coming up with a great idea. And, well, I thought it was a great idea. But my dad, my parents started to buy and sell businesses. And at that particular time, we had like a caravan park. And I was actually meeting all these guys from all around the world, you know. And they were like fruit picking and living in the caravan park. Wow. And I remember thinking to myself, maybe if I go traveling around the world, maybe that'll make a man out of me. You know, I didn't know where or what, but, you know, so, yeah, so I went and did that. And that nearly killed me. You know, man, there was a couple of times I had so many near misses. It was scary.
It
was scary. Yeah. But then what happened was I made it back. You know, I'm not going to go in there. I'll end up crying.
Right.
All right. But I made it back to Australia, okay, and I remember you know, hooking up with some old, you know, friends and basically picking another drink up, you know. I remember thinking, here I go again, you know, because I was trying to sort myself out,
right.
And it wasn't too long after that I ended up in like my first meeting where people said, hey, listen, I've got a problem. You know, I'm trying to do something about it, you know.
Right.
And I was so fortunate that I had a bloke come up to me and kind of like put his fingers in my chest and kind of said, son, there's something in you that only you can fulfill. You know, and it was just like a light bulb moment. I wanted to be a fighter, but it was always, yeah, but there was something I didn't know. I didn't know anything about longevity, long term, you know. And yeah, so that was like, maybe this is my second chance. So it was interesting to do that program, get back in the gym, and, you know, 5 years down the track, you know, clean and sober, I was able to, you know, got fortunate enough to fight for the Australian title and won it, and you know, defended it successfully, and then, you know, had a layoff and then come back, and then, yeah, thought maybe there's something more in me, you know.
Right.
and then was able to, you know, fight world title eliminators and was ranked, you know, 12th in the world, and hey, but what I realised, and this is probably what I talk about in our programs, in the book, the Rite of Passage to the Modern Man, there's something inside every man.
Right.
There's something in there that was put in there, not from you. You know, you were designed for something great. You know, right. So there's a dream. So that's literally, I got to live my dream. You know, and that's what. Go on.
No, that's perfect, because something you told me yesterday was so awesome. And you were saying you realized what the difference was of a goal and a dream.
Yeah.
Want to dive into that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think, you know, even take it back a step, when I'm talking with blokes, I find that, you know, you start to talk with men, they go through our online Rite of Passage program, or on the ground here, our Fight Like a Pro program. Right. And what I found is, when you start to talk to blokes, they've kind of, they don't dream. They don't even know what their dream is, or they've shrunk their dream so small then that literally all they got to do is turn it up, and they'll, you know, it's not worth. They're not going all in for.
Right.
So yeah, so literally when we go through our Rite of Passage, we say that what were you designed for? Mm-hmm. And that's a big question when you're not familiar with it. But then when we do all these other things and lead you into that, realize a dream you actually shouldn't know how to do. Okay?
Ooh,
you shouldn't know how to do it.
Yep.
You know, it should be that big. Man, I've got no idea. Mm-hmm. Okay? What's the next step though? But then people get goals and dreams confused, where a goal you will know how to do. You'll know the steps. Okay, mm-hmm. You'll know how to achieve it, and that's what happens, I think, with a lot of blokes. They grow up hearing things like, "Be careful." Mm-hmm. Are you sure? stop dreaming. Stop looking out the window.
Yeah.
So they get, and I mean, education system has done terrific things for an amazing amount of people.
Right.
But it's also taught people to live in a box.
In a box, absolutely. Yes.
Where those dreams, man, are outside the box. We're not taught how to dream. And that's where blokes really create a life beyond their wildest dreams. That's the goal.
Right. So what's amazing is the fact that you, again, have achieved the success. And that in itself, people think is awesome. But then you've taken those principles and you're showing people how to go through that rite of passage that you went through. So for people who don't know, first off, you have a book now, but again, you have the rite of passage, you have the Fight Like a Pro. It all started with Fight Like a Pro, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it all started with blood, sweat, and tears.
You're right.
Broken
Your own
noses.
story.
It hurt.
Yeah.
But probably the thing is that I see time and time again is blokes' identity. They don't really know who they are, or they reach a certain point in their life and they're, what the heck is all this about? What have I done all this? There's no, like, they go after a career that's empty. And they, in this current point in time, people get laid off, drop of a hat, no fault of their own.
Like the story you're sharing with me, and I believe it's in the book too, but you were saying how, you reached the pinnacle. You won the championship.
Yeah.
You say you went to go get a drink after, and you're like, that's it? I've been chasing this for so long.
Yeah.
I've been longing for this goal. Goal. That was the key. Was I wanted this goal. I achieved it, but that wasn't the fulfillment.
No.
And
I think I suppose for me, what I picked up, because that was a goal for me to be the Australian champion.
Right.
But 10 years it took me from when I first went in the gym, 10 years down the track. Wow. And it was a rocky journey. Yeah. But I don't know, it was empty. Mm-hmm. It was empty, and it took everything to do that. But early days, I remember picking up, you can either compete or create. Whereas I never felt like I was competitive. I felt like I was more about creating. And I suppose what actually got me there was I had like men, show me all these different rite of passages through Indigenous cultures and so forth. So I spent that time almost looking and studying, trying to look for ways to initiate myself, to build my own identity, to build my own, to really, and validation is massive, in particular with all this social media and what have you. People are going after likes, right?
Yep.
Going after views, rather than building a framework on their inside that'll go the distance. I love it when we talk about their culture, how they build a culture. When they talk about their word, we go through a point where what is your word? Mm-hmm. Your oath, your unbreakable, shakable promise to yourself and the people you love. And mate, I've got to show you something I'm so proud of. Is I got given this. Okay. On the back, you probably can't see it. It's a pocket watch.
I saw it said 25th or something.
25 years. Okay. 25 years. So I made an oath, okay, to myself, okay, 25 years ago, all right? Okay. And I was presented by some friends, by a group. They presented me with holding my word for 25 years. See, those things are not taught to our young people. They're not taught to our old people. They're not taught. It's about how fast can I get it? What will it do for me? You know. Whereas I remember when I was presented this gift, And then, my eldest son was there. And he thanked me for what I did for him before he was even born.
Right.
And I think, we're all about making better men, better husbands, fathers, sons, leaders.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to have a boxing career and men around me that were able to mold me and shape my character, or at least give me opportunities to.
Right.
So
Right.
I believe, and particularly in this modern world that we live in, that's not talked about.
No.
Whereas what I've learned is old-fashioned values will never go out of fashion. So
No.
I mean, just to your viewers as well. I started with the book, the Rite of Passage for the Modern Man. It's phenomenal. It's going off like the message. People are receiving it really well. It's changing their lives.
Yep.
Getting their marriages back. Giving them a hope in the future.
And why would you say so?
Well, it's the content.
For people who don't
know,
I've gotten to learn a little bit about what this Rite of Passage is and all, but for people who don't know what that program looks like, especially Fight Like a Pro. We know Lloyd who went through it, so that's how I heard about what you have going on and how he competed. But basically, what you're doing with at least Fight Like a Pro is you almost challenge somebody. Would you say to say, hey, do this fight?
Well, what we do is we put blokes through a 10-week boxing program, and it's changed over the last 11 years since we've been doing it. Right? Initially, it started out blokes that were too old for the amateurs, or what we're unsure to. The most important thing for me is blokes are looked after, cared for, and inspired. Okay, not put down. So. And blokes, I from nearly everyone I've met, and we've had well over 1,000 blokes do our Fight Like a Pro, have a fight program.
For people who don't know, he's Australian. Blokes means guys.
Yeah, blokes. That's right.
I love it.
So well over 1,000 men, and it's been phenomenal. But the most important thing is they're not getting hurt; they're getting lifted up. But we don't change. We give blokes the opportunity. So over the years, it was started off as a 10-week boxing program. Have a great event at the local casino or a big venue, and then men were asking me about all these different Rite of Passages, because I'm just going to talk what I know about, what I love doing, etc. So now it's turned into a Rite of Passage, to develop your character. So as we're going through and then what has happened of late now, because people are reaching out everywhere, all around the world, they want that, they need that. Their life depends upon it. With the suicide rate has never been as high as what it has in males. I mean, it's life and death. So literally, we've got the online Rite of Passage, which is just going gangbusters. I'm just so happy. I mean, the book, blokes say, man, I need more, I want more. So you asked me a question, what is it? So we get blokes to start dreaming again, and then start to shape their character, and then by the oaths that they live by. Okay, so like for me, what I received this for, because I made an oath saying, for me personally, because you got to row your own boat, you got to live your own life. So for me, I had a problem with drugs and alcohol, so I made an oath: not any, not ever, no negotiation. So haven't had a day off in over 25 years now. So then, thank you, man. So then we get blokes to dream, create their identity. And then teach them from that, start to build a culture. Because you build a culture that you crave. But a lot of blokes, when they don't know what their identity is, they're one bloke at work, they're a different bloke on the weekend. When they go home to their family, they're somebody else.
Yep. It's a big change on who they're around, validation, like you were sharing before. So then they do a Facebook post, and it's nothing who they are. Yeah, exactly.
So there, how to build a culture. Need to build a culture, okay? And then go through where is their validation coming from? You know what I mean? And then of course, you know, how to build a kingdom. Because every king, I mean, I know what it's like in Texas, right? But in Australia, they say it's the great Australian dream to own a house. You know, a white picket fence. You know, have the 2 kids, etc. You know, but what's going on in the world? A lot of people can't buy houses. They feel disjointed. They've got no home, or you know, the marriage breaks down. Okay, so you know, like it's happening. So blokes, how do you rebuild a kingdom? I mean, I love when we go through because we're all carrying something, okay? Nobody's learned how to grieve. Nobody knows that. Nobody's learned how to forgive and move on. You know, I've had blokes go through our program and they start telling me about their ex-wife, and I'm thinking they must have just broke up 2 weeks ago, and it was 12 years ago. But to them, it's like it was last week. They haven't moved on. In the meantime, she's remarried, had kids for son. She's gone. But blokes don't learn. Hey, you got to forgive. You got to forgive yourself. You know, where blokes aren't taught that. You know, I mean, I love when we talk to these men about a legacy. What legacy are they leaving? Because everyone's leaving something. And the only thing, you know, you can that's valuable is your character.
So you're talking legacy, and I liked how you have it in these 3 points. You know, those 3 those 3 points for the rite of passage. Can you share with us kind of the?
So literally the whole 10 weeks, and I mean I say 10 weeks, but the masculine journey will take you 80 or 90 years if you're lucky. I should point out, okay, at this point, I don't have all the answers. Okay? I've probably just made more mistakes than most.
There you go.
And maybe had some, you know, hey, listen, I need to make this better. You know, I've got 7 children. You know, it's a massive motivation having 5 daughters and 2 sons, an amazing wife, you know, that we've been together since we were teenagers. You know, the woman has been to Hallenbach and still with me. God bless her, man. So, mate, what was the question?
So, I remember you were telling
3 things.
The 3 points. Yeah.
So it's broken down. Literally, you know, when it comes to dream again, it takes courage. It takes guts. You've got to be able to, you've got to be a warrior. You know?
I got to ask you right there, though, because, okay, I want to know, what was that story you're telling yourself to have the courage to come back after you did your world travels, get back into the ring? And then what was the story you continue to tell yourself? Because the reason why, I'm sorry, but the reason why is because so many people, you know, we're all, you know, we're in our head, or we have self-doubt, or we have low, you know, self-esteem. We're bringing stuff from the past to today. You know, what was it that kept you going? And especially, you know, what was that like up into the fight? You know, that self-talk from, hey, I'm going to do this, and then how you continue telling yourself positive stories to make it happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I mean, at different times, obviously you draw on different things. But I think for me, I just always wanted to make a difference. I always wanted to think, if I can make this level of sacrifice, people will be able to go after me and build on my shoulders.
Wow.
Rather than have to start again, you know. And I mean, I've met so many blokes, so many men that give up. So somebody has to say, it doesn't matter how far down you are, there's always hope. If you've got breath in your lungs, you're in with a chance. You can get up again, you know. So, I mean, the big part of it is for me is living, and it's in my spirit, you know. I mean, you can't be taught this stuff. You kind of catch it or you don't. But I want to live a life of service. You know, I want others to benefit from who I am, who I've become.
Mm-hmm.
That's you know. So when the fights are hard, when business is hard, when people let you down, when people backdoor you, you know, and rip you off, man, the mission is greater, and that's the whole idea of knowing that dream. When the dream's big enough, well, then the odds don't matter. When the dream's big enough, yeah, the disappointments don't matter. You know, they're small compared to the dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's probably the thing that is not just, and I mean, using boxing to be able to develop my character, really.
Right, exactly.
That's, you know, for me, because I've won fights,
mm-hmm.
and known I could have done better. I've lost fights and known I did every single thing I could.
So you had courage. You had the courage to put it all out on the line.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, with our Rite of Passage, I always talk about there's three men inside every man. Mm-hmm. You know, there's the man I tell you I am. Okay? There's the man I think I am. And then there's the bloke who lives in there. And in there, that's the guy you got to make your friend.
In the heart.
You know? But a lot of people have got self-talk, and all they do is put themselves down. You know, they wouldn't talk to anyone else like that. Tell themselves all this negative stuff, but they talk to themselves like that. So it's a big part of retraining. You know,
right? So the one of the
a battle to fight
was courage. Oh yeah, a battle to fight.
So in the DNA of every man is a warrior, but there's two sorts of warriors. Do you know what they are?
A dreamer and then one who does it?
No, you're guessing. Well, there's trained and untrained warriors. You know, when you're trained, you know what you can and can't do, okay? But on top of being trained, there's tested and untested, which is kind of, you know what I mean? So we need to be trained so we get an idea of what we can do, but we need to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can tell you you're amazing, which you are. I can tell you you're phenomenal in this area, and this area, but unless you test it out, you don't really know. And that's where a man's, you know, self-worth actually comes from. Hardship. The warrior's made through hardship. And I mean, the second thing that every bloke, you know, the questions that we long for is we long for an adventure.
Right.
To live a life of adventure. But most blokes are going to jobs they don't like on the same road every day. Come home unfulfilled with an attitude, take it out of someone they love and go to bed. Get up in the morning, and just caught in a rut. It's an unfulfilled life, you know. So, but you've got to live a life of adventure. Mm-hmm. Look for new things, you know. And the people you love take on the adventure with you.
Right.
You know? Whereas a lot of blokes have a family.
Yeah.
Sorry?
One thing that you were sharing with me was, you know, you didn't want to have that life. You didn't want to, you know, after fighting, you know, you obviously are doing your gyms and you're putting on these events and doing your Rite of Passage. And you didn't want to be the guy who goes home and, you know, has a bad attitude because of a bad day at work, you know, and actually affect the family, you know, affect the home life. But you actually involved them in everything you did, you know. That's been amazing. I mean, obviously, I just got to talk with your son, which was super cool, and I've seen what he's been in the studio and, you know, all in media and all, which is amazing. So I'm curious, how has that been bringing those principles of the courage and just everything that you've learned, teaching it to, obviously, you know, the people who you do every day with your book and all, but also your family? Like, what has that been like? How's that?
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think, you know, like when all this, I've been researching this stuff for 25 years. Okay,
Right.
not because I'm a good bloke, because of my own survival. And even in Australia, you know, the last couple of 100 years, this is what I've loved when I've researched. Say, like for example, if your father was a carpenter, you become a carpenter. As a son, you went to work with you learnt the family trade, the family business.
Right.
You know, then that was your culture, your identity come out of that. You sort of knew who you were, right? Whereas these days, families don't even eat together. Or if they're at the table, they're all bloody on their phones. They're not communicating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for me, that's very important. So I want to, you know, having 7 children, having the best wife I could, a gift from God, I'm telling you, man. So just have, and talking with her, what do we want? Well, we want to be together. We have, you know, the same dream. Or, you know, I've got a massive vision for our family, which me and my wife obviously talk about it. You know what I mean? She, there's things that fulfill her. You know, my dream is that she is fulfilled, that she does live her dream. You know, not just me, myself, and I. You know, so for example, like my elder couple of kids have businesses. Okay, so. Oh man, I want to be their greatest supporter, you know, and like even I'm in my son's studio at the moment, okay, Lion Social. He's punching out all this content. He has taken I was going to really say mature blokes like me that have great content and being able to take it globally, you know, being able to work together as a team, you know. And he's been able to help a lot of my friends, you know. So, mate, I could talk about my kids all day. I'm so proud of them. I'm a blessed man, you know. Absolutely. But it takes work, you know. And that's when we're going through our rite of passage. We talk about what sort of culture does your heart crave? What do you really flipping want? You know. Well, I want to be the guy, okay, at the head of the massive long table. Okay, with the 7 families, their grandchildren. I want to be that guy. You know, I don't want to be the guy who like a lot of blokes, commit suicide or divorce their families or because they've been unfathered, they don't know how to father their children. You know, so. You know, I'm on a mission, man. We're gonna save more lives. You know, we're gonna save more families, more husbands. You know.
So that makes me think of that one story that you have in your book. You know, you're talking obviously through your rite of passage. You've seen some amazing breakthroughs from you know, father and son, and how boxing and that whole rite of passage brought them together. From you name it. But one of them I want you to share because you actually, did this whole process with a man. You thought he was a little bit older, but anyway, he goes through this whole process and makes the news. And you found out about one of a deep desire, a deep dream he had for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Could you share that?
Yeah. Yeah. So Barefoot Paul, phenomenal man. And he come and watch one of his mates fight at one of our events, done our Rite of Passage program, fought at the event. And I remember watching this guy just screaming, yelling, yeah, he's going nuts. So I went up to him, obviously, with big events, 800,000 people there. I try and, meet as many, but I'm obviously busy, but I try and meet people. And I remember going up and they're saying, man, thank you for cheering your mate on, mate. This is phenomenal. Well done. You look like you're having a good time. And he was jumping up and stuff. And I just said to him, why don't you do this? Why don't you do it? Yeah. And then I walked off, okay, because I'm going to an event. And then, he messaged me weeks later and said, do you remember what you said to me? And at that point, I probably said that to 300 people that night. You should do this. and he come to my office and basically said that, you know, hey, you said, well, I've been thinking about why don't I do it for like 3 weeks. So he goes, man, how do I get started? What do I do? I went through all the stuff that we were going to do. Right. And I know he's an older fella, but I remember when he's filling it, and this is the thing he said to me. He said when he was 9 years of age, there was a local boxing gym down the road, and he used to go down there and loved it. And his parents said, don't go down there. There's some bad men down there, etc. So he was never allowed to go down there. But since he was 9, he always thought about it and wondered, imagine if. Okay, so when he come and seen his mate fight, he goes, oh, my goodness, you can do this, you know. So he comes to my office, running through, man, I'm in, fills out some paperwork, and I remember having a look. I had to have another look. I'm thinking, hang on a minute. I'm trying to work out in my head how old he was, and he was 69 years of age. And I'm thinking, whoa, okay. But he was fit. He was healthy. He was actually a carpenter, and he was still working and just enthusiastic in life, you know. Yeah, and I said to him, go see your doctor. If your doctor says it's okay, you know, it's more than okay, you know. Come back, man, got the doctor, mate, I'm in. So he went through, mate, and probably one of them in that particular group, okay, I mean, there's all ages, you know, from 69 we've had to 14, okay. There was probably about 3 or 4 blokes who are in their 20s, you know, about 5 or 6 blokes in their 30s, and, you know, younger blokes. And I remember going through the process because you get to know blokes quite, I mean, personal, you know. And I reckon he was more youthful than some of those 20-year-olds. Wow. This guy had an enthusiasm for life, okay? And anyway, and I remember, you know, the papers found out about this bloke was fighting, and what it was, the fight night was actually a day or two either side of his 70th birthday. So he announced that, you know, come to my 70th birthday party. Oh, so there was like, so many people flew in from everywhere, you know, and come to his party. And most of them didn't know he was actually fighting at his party. So, but he was on the front page of the local paper. Oh, mate, they were blown away. He was in the papers. He was just a massive. When he walked from the stage, oh man, he got a standing ovation. The standing ovation went longer than the fight, I think. It was full on. But what it was because what I found is with these rite of passages, with the boxing program, this is the thing I've found. You don't necessarily get what you want, okay? You seem to get what you need. Ooh. That's kind of, you seem to get what you need. And sometimes a lot of that stuff is uncomfortable. It's hard. It's about breaking through new ground. It's about becoming a man, a modern man, a man in this modern society, okay? So a couple of weeks later, because he wasn't feeling well towards the end of the last, you know, when we were tapering down, comes back, he goes and sees his doctor. The doctor gives him the diagnosis. He had cancer. Wow. So the doctor says to him, man, if you weren't as fit as what you were, because then he started his treatment, he goes, he would never have made it at his age. So he says to me today, it actually saved his life. Not just give him his dream and then saved his life. So, I mean, man, you know, it just makes it worth all the heartache, the disappointment, the hardship that I go through, that the team goes through. Man, when you're changing people's lives like that, how do you stop? You know, there's nothing else on planet Earth I want to do. There is nothing else for me. We're changing the flipping world.
Exactly, because the thing is, again, you're teaching people or you're showing people, you're pulling it out of them to dream again, and then actually testing
Yeah.
them. Because what was
Yeah.
super cool, it was
Yeah.
friend Lloyd. I remember he kind of broke down the story with me on how him and you really connected, and how he said that y'all were at an event together and speaking, and you reach out to him and said, hey, you should check out what I'm doing. And he looked it over and you're like, you should do it, kind of like you did at the boxing match. You do it.
Yeah.
But he does it, and what you were telling me and what he was saying was how it just completely changed him. He's been doing it. He's been working with you and training, and he's fell in love with the sport ever since. Because something you said with your sharing with me was people leave it all out in the ring. They leave it all out. Those people who were like, I want to do this. I want to go down this kind of like rite of passage.
Yeah.
I want to, I want to test myself. And you see people just go all out, right?
Something that I was taught a long time ago, to know something's true value, it must be tried and tested. You must go all in to find out what is your metal made of. And we've got to look. But when you're untrained, okay, you don't know where to look. You don't know what to do. So that's why, a boxing program is one thing, okay, but it's the rite of passage, because anyone can do that. Anyone can train a bloke to fight. I mean, not anyone, but you know what I mean. You don't have to have good character to do that. You don't have to have good integrity to do that. But when you go through the rite of passage, see, for me, it's not about making world champion fighters. It's about making world champion men. So I believe men don't need, what's the word? They don't need more rules or more guidelines. Men need more inspiration. They need to have the courage to dream again, to go after that thing that lies inside of them. And some blokes aren't sure, so they need to go cock it back a gear and say, man, what actually do I want out of this life, this short time I've got on planet Earth? So, a battle to fight. We want to live a life of adventure, and we want to live a life of passion, of love. I see, and I'm sure you do as well, so many blokes just going through relationships. They're actually having the same relationship with 5 different bloody partners. Whereas, man, it's longevity. Go the distance. I love my wife more than anything. And the love grows as the years, the decades go on. That's the stuff we've got to teach our children.
Yeah, just like you making the decision to never ever pick up a drink, and your commitment to yourself to 20. It's the same kind of principle, because, and if you're to bring it back to fighting, I'm sure, there's times you didn't want to go to that gym. There's times you didn't want to, work out and run and maybe cut weight and all that. I mean, but it was because you had, number one, you had the courage, but two, like you said, you had a bigger dream, something bigger than yourself. You want to serve, and that's which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
and I think even people go on.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, even people watching this, something that they can implement straight away. I mean, when things are hard, because the warrior, in the DNA of every man's a warrior. The warrior is made through hardship. So when things are hard, look for ways where your character can develop, can get stronger. You can get mentally tougher, physically stronger, rather than look for the easy, softer way out, that a boy can do. A boy can do, You should start to leave boyhood in your teenagers, as a teenager, and start to grow into masculinity and manhood. Not stay a boy in your 40.
Exactly. that's something that you share in the book, and I highly recommend anybody to go it. I'll put it in the link description, and they'll be able to get it. It's just hold on, I have it here. It's just Gavin Topp, right? Your website?
GavinTopp.com, double P, GavinTopp.com. Yeah, a rite of passage for the modern man.
Yeah, so you've got your book there, and I'm diving into it, which is exciting. And then obviously you have your rite of passage.
Yeah.
What's cool is this movement that you created from your experience and what you're teaching, man, over the past decade is spread all over Australia, but I mean it's spread all over the world.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing as well, we just recently started a page for men, okay, called The Modern Man, okay? Just a page for men. We only started a couple of weeks ago, and just blokes are just getting so much value, are feeling supported, encouraged. It's just for men. There's no women there. I love women more than anything. I've got 5 daughters, but there's women's business and there's men's business, okay? So just for men.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's true. I just joined it, so I'm excited to be in the community and plug away, even if we're halfway across the world. But I'm sure that won't be long. There's going to be people all over the world jumping into this thing.
Yeah.
So
yes, absolutely.
So I can't. I mean, I could go on forever, just questioning, and there's just so much experience that you've had. I've got two questions for you before I'll let you go and we wrap this up.
Yep.
The first one is, what was I don't want to say the hardest fight, but the one where you had to dig deeper than you ever had before?
Oh, mate, I would say in Edmonton, Canada, was for a Commonwealth title fight. Yeah, I would say that was like my first 12-round fight. That was hard. That was hard.
Yeah.
And I suppose on top of that, I was ill, so I wasn't in good shape. I mean, I just got ill before the fight.
Oh my.
So I mean, you can't fly all the way over to Canada and say, I don't feel like it tonight. I don't feel you're committed. So that was hard. That was very hard. But you know what? It made me strong. It really realigned me. It was one of those things that I think really, like, afterwards, brought me to my knees.
Wow.
Brought me to my knees, man. Yeah. So it was the hardest fight in the world, but probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Like what you said, and I'm gonna be using that. Sometimes you don't get what you want; you get what you need.
And that was one of those times, man. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. But most blokes, like I think I said before, most blokes are looking for the easier, softer way, which just makes for an undeveloped man. See, I don't know what it's like in over in Texas, but in Australia, there's a bit of an unwritten kind of rite of passage. Is get drunk, get a girl, and get into a fight, and then you're kind of one of the lads, one of the men, and it just makes for an undeveloped man,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that sounds like you're down the street. I mean, it's. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Man, that's nuts. So something I want everyone to be able to take away. Obviously, you got your book and your programs and everything you're doing online and in the Facebook group. And again, I'll put links for everyone to check that out. But if you had just 3 ideas to leave with somebody, with all your experience you ever had, and you had 3 ideas to leave with your legacy, what would those be?
Yeah. Oh, mate, big question. I think the first thing would be is have the courage to follow your heart. And even if you don't even reach there, you'll be happy knowing that you went after what was in your heart. You know what I mean? Because a lot of blokes don't even reach their dream, but the sheer fact that they went after it with everything they got that's where the joy is. That's where the love is, you know, going after, having the courage to follow their heart. I think I say it to myself and to my kids, you know, it's almost an oath in our house where we've got to be fast to forgive. We've got to forgive people fast. That's kind of, we've got to do that. we've got to be fast to forgive. Don't hold nothing on, man.
I believe it. Oh, not to hold the gotcha.
Yeah. And three things you want, I would say love more. Man, more love. You know? Love more. That would be, man, you gotta love more, you know. So many people are are not going after their dream, so they're bitter. Okay. And then there's unforgiveness, which pushes it down. Do you know what I mean? And how can you, you know, it's very hard to love people when you don't love yourself, when you're not happy with yourself. So, yeah.
I mean,
and probably what I'd say to all the listeners, you can do it. You can do it.
And if people are just listening to this and they're not seeing the amount of radiation, I mean, you just have such an uplifting spirit. It's contagious. So I can see why people have, number one, just gravitated to what you're doing. But, you know, you've done it. You've proved it. And I'm just so excited to, number one, met you and be able to do this, but to also to kind of take your friends, bring it out here to Texas and bring it to the United States, sharing, you know, just it's nothing new. At the end of the day, it isn't. But I mean, it's the simple things. It's the simple things that, you know, we're sometimes afraid to do. But once you press through it, you know what? That's where the happiness and joy and love is, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's what they say. There's nothing new on planet Earth. You know, like when it comes to principles and character and integrity, like I said before, old-fashioned values will never go out of fashion. You know, I'm sure there's all these things being created with modern technology, but the heart of a man is still the same. And that's all we're trying to do with all this technology is get to the heart of a man. Be more creative, you know, which is in your heart. Love more, connect more, you know, go after our dreams. That's all this technology is going after what's in our heart.
That's true.
So you can do it.
You can do it. That's it. We're getting the t-shirt out here. Well, man, Gavin, I appreciate it. It's a blessing, seriously, and I'm so excited. I know we had some technical difficulties to get it started, but I'm just so excited to get this out to the world in this because you know, it's something that needs to be shared. You know, so I appreciate it again. Obviously, everyone go tune in to what he's doing. Follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram, and go get the book. Seriously, go get the book. It's impactful, and I'm just getting in, but just the principles already. It's just for me, it's awesome. And I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, you know, before, you know, my background, mixed martial arts and fighting and all. I never fully tested it. Like, did I have matches and all? Yes, but like kind of how you share it, where you put the gloves on and you're going up against somebody and you're just going, you know, leaving it all out in the ring. It's something that you believe, and I believe. I can attest to it. That's something that every man needs to do is make that test. And let's say it's not in a boxing ring, but they need to go out and test themselves, huh?
Yeah. Find it. Don't stop looking till you find it. Because if you don't, it's always going to be in the back of your head. That self-doubt. What if? Don't be 69 and then call me up.
Today, because you can do it.
All right, man. How's that?
How about that, mate? Pretty sweet, right? I'm telling you, Gavin has a soul for people, has a heart for people, and his energy is contagious, like I said before. But if you have not, go to his website. I'll put the link in the description and get his book. I'm telling you, it is a game changer, especially if you're a man and you want to break through the different paths that are going along or right in front of you in life. These strategies and these principles that he shared is just incredible. I mean, it really, really is. So if you haven't, check that out. Again, put the link in the description. Follow him on social media. Follow him. Follow his journey. He does a lot of Facebook Lives. He's on Instagram as well. And you can even look up some of his fights on YouTube, which is pretty cool. So I highly recommend you to do that. So anyway, with that, I hope you're enjoying this. If you do, give me a like. Write in your comment. Tell me what you liked most about it. And again, just follow the journey. And I'm here to help you in your journey of breaking through the barriers in your mind to go to the next level. And something that I'm really passionate about and I'm excited to be doing a lot more of is actually sharing the struggles of entrepreneurs, of dreamers, and how those struggles made them into the success story that you know of now. And the reason for that is because, I don't know about you, but me personally, was trying to have that perfect life and being able to share that. Well, guess what? Everything comes with a struggle. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, follow the journey, subscribe, give me a 5-star review or whatever the review that you believe on iTunes. And again, just thank you again for following the journey, and I'll see you on the next episode.